let's be real for a minute. Pinterest, it's not just for wedding boards and DIY craft fails anymore. It's a serious marketing powerhouse that most businesses are completely sleeping on. And today, I've got the person who can help us unlock its full potential. I'm joined by MEAGAN Williamson, a Pinterest expert and educator who's actually recognized by Pinterest itself for her innovative strategies. As the founder of Pin Potential Inc., she's all about showing entrepreneurs how to transform Pinterest from that platform they should probably use someday into a consistent source of traffic, leads, and sales. She's helped countless businesses go from Pinterest confused to Pinterest conversion. And she's here to share her actionable, no fluff strategies with us. Whether you've been avoiding Pinterest like that awkward high school reunion, or you've dabbled but haven't seen results, this episode is your roadmap to finally getting discovered on a platform with over 400 million monthly users who are actively searching for what you offer. Hey there, I'm Rachel Starr, ex-wedding planner and recovering people pleaser turned your community strategist. And not too long ago, I felt a bit like Angela, planning a Dunder Mifflin party, trying to make things perfect, yet wondering if people would actually show up and enjoy themselves. That's when I discovered the real game changer, community building. It's the key ingredient to everything. Whether you're launching your next course, growing a podcast, or creating a space where people want to connect and engage. Each week, we'll roll up our sleeves and dive into the essentials of community building, from virtual events and workshop planning to fresh, innovative strategies for fostering real connections, all without the party planning committee drama. Whether you're just getting started or ready to level up, you'll find practical tips, expert interviews, and real-world insights to help you craft a community that fuels your next big move. So if you're ready to get inspired and transform the way you build connections, you're in the right place, friends. Let's dive in and master the art of community together. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Your Community Strategist. I'm your host, Rachel. And if you're tired of posting amazing content that nobody ever sees, this episode is for you. But before we dive in, this episode is sponsored by The Co-op, my monthly membership designed to help course creators, summit hosts, and membership builders create engaging communities without the guesswork. Inside, you'll get access to exclusive resources, content drops, and strategy sessions to take your community to the next level. Learn more at the link in the show notes. Now, let's get into today's episode and get to know MEAGAN. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited you're here. And I just had a chance to chat like friends, and I loved it.
Oh, right? The best way to start a podcast.
It totally is. It just takes all that ooh, is this going to be okay away? And I love it. Can you tell my listeners all about yourself and all about your business?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
I want them to know how amazing you are.
Oh, well, we were chatting all the things. It's funny because we talked about Pinterest, but not all that much. So I'm a Pinterest marketing expert. I have, over 10 years experience working in the trenches of helping business owners and brands with their Pinterest marketing. But of course, as most marketing coaches and experts often do, I've developed an expertise in content marketing, conversion, all the things. We become an expert in all the things. And that's really what you and I were diving into. But I'm an entrepreneur. I've owned my own business since side hustle started in 2015. I was a blogger starting in 2010. And then I really started my agency in 2017. And I haven't looked back. I became a mom and I just had to figure out sort of a way to support the family life that I wanted, that I was beginning to have. And now I'm the proud mom of 2 children, 2 dogs, and I work full-time as an online educator, helping people with Pinterest and their overall growth marketing.
This is so fantastic. I find Pinterest to be really intriguing. And I had shared with you before we hit record that I actually devote my marketing energy and time to 2 places, one being YouTube and the second being Pinterest. And I don't talk about that very frequently, and I probably should because most of you probably that are listening have found me that way because that is the biggest referral I have to my podcast. And so I kind of want to start off by just let's kind of remove that misconception that Pinterest is for saving recipes and, picking out new paint colors for the house. And no,
Yeah.
it's great for those things, don't get
Yeah,
me
of course.
wrong. It
Yeah.
totally is, and I am guilty of 4 o'clock in the morning doom scrolling and doing things
Oh
like
my
that.
gosh. Well, better
But
there than somewhere else.
it's so true, so true, so true. But I would love for you to share a little bit of, just why is it so important to use this as part of your business strategy?
Yeah, I love that. And I do think like acknowledging that a lot of people think like, wait, what? We can use this platform to grow our business strategically. Like many of us use Pinterest, or a lot of people who maybe, are that this is a novel idea, think about Pinterest for, like you said, recipes, picking paint, reno, planning a trip. And those things are, people are doing those things. What I want you to think about as a business owner is that Pinterest is a platform where people are going with the user intent. So, literally, folks who are heading to Pinterest, who are your ideal audience, are heading there with the intent to plan something, to take action, to learn, to be educated in some way, to literally search for a solution. And I think as business owners, we can all admit that we have our different preferences for what sort of marketing we participate in, how we grow our businesses. And I really do think that Pinterest is that competitive edge for businesses heading into 2025 and 2026, because now more than ever, I don't know if people have heard the news or seen the news, but we are seeing traditional platforms that were created for talking to friends, for communicating, like Instagram or TikTok, all turning to integrating search into the way that the platforms are being used. And Pinterest is the original visual search platform, that it has been designed from the very beginning to match its users with products, services, solutions, inspiration from day one. And I really think when people invest like you have into that magic that Pinterest can be, so you don't have to be online all the time. It is like the chef's kiss of marketing, right? It's that thing where
Yes.
you thank yourself down the road, oh my gosh, thank you, previous Megan. Thank you, previous Rachel. This is things I did a year ago drive email subscribers, podcast downloads, people finding our communities, people wanting to work with us. Really, I've seen every type of business model using Pinterest.
I just can't begin to tell you how beneficial it's been for my business. And I mean, I'm not new to Pinterest as far as using it for business, but my own, case study in it as it is that I always let me back up here. For me, I am not a person that needs instant gratification.
Mm,
So Pinterest was perfect for me. I was
yeah.
okay with knowing I'm going to put this work in the background, and then I might not see the true fruits of that labor until a little bit
Hmm.
later. But it happened pretty quick. And then once it started, it just kept rolling. And I
Like a
think,
snowball, right?
yes,
We were talking about skiing before we hit
yeah,
record, and it's I always say it's like the snowball, right? It starts out small, and then you push it, and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger,
yes.
and then gains momentum until if you hit a hill and takes on a life of its own.
Yeah, I think that was the most fantastic component for me. But
Yeah.
my question is for you. Let's
Hmm.
say, because a lot of people I think are going to say this, because I think most people are unlike me and love instant gratification. What
Sure.
would you say are the top maybe 3 or 4 things that you would recommend if I'm just getting started? Taking
Yeah.
most of our listeners are course creators or they host their own podcast. They build their own community. So kind of keeping that in mind.
Sure.
What do you think some great tips to just kick off your Pinterest journey would be?
So I've been doing this so long that I understand that some people might be hesitant. Whenever you're trying something new, you're not sure of what the ROI is going to be. Is my audience there? Are they going to really be interested in my content? Are they going to convert? So let's just like the baseline quick start guide of what you should be doing just to get a taste for it. And I get it, right? Like I can be the same when I'm trying something new. I want to dip my toe in. So what I would recommend is you start with low hanging fruit. Let's do what's easy. I don't want to create like a big, here's a 100-step plan to mastering Pinterest. We don't need that. But what we do need is some evidence that our people are there. So what I would recommend, obviously, I'm always going to say, make sure you have a business account because that's going to give you access to the analytics. If you can, please claim your website. So if you have a website, custom domain, you want to embed that code and claim your website because this is going to actually be able to help you better measure that ROI. Is your content driving traffic? Is it driving email subscribers? Is it resulting in maybe people finding you, so discovering you, and then coming into that longer customer journey? So what I always say to people is start really like like I said, low hanging fruit. So look at your top 10 pieces of content. And I say content because really this could be short form video, long form video. Look at what you already have. Pinterest is the platform where you can repurpose with purpose. So we want to think about our top performing podcast episodes, maybe your top performing lead magnet, or if you have a freebie that has done really, really well elsewhere. Short form video, if you're using Instagram Reels or TikTok, I want you to look at that for the last year and pick your top 10 pieces of content that have done really well and resonated with your audience in an organic way elsewhere. What we're going to do is we're going to take that content and we're going to head to Pinterest. So what we're going to do is we're going to look up some very simple. Pinterest is based on relevancy. So when we talk about search, and understanding like how does somebody, if I type in a search phrase or word, why do I get shown certain results? So the way that SEO or search engine optimization works on Pinterest is a little bit different, but it wants to pair its users, your potential audience, with results that are relevant to what they're actively searching for. So what you want to do is you want to look up some of those broad words or keyword, literally text. So it might just be 2 words, like for you, right? So it might be community building, building a community. It could be how to grow your online community, how to create, how to grow your audience and engage your audience, all these things, these concepts, right? Or selling more courses, whatever it might be, how to sell digital products. You want to think about the things that people are actively searching for solutions. I always say solve what they search. So
Oh, I love that.
yeah, it's a big part of my own program of really thinking about, like, we're all business owners. We are so deep in our expertise, in the things that we do every day, that we forget that people are actively searching for us. And so we want to make it really easy. So we're going to take those 10 things that do really well. Again, just to rhyme it off really easy, anything with a link. So it could be Instagram posts, could be TikTok, could be YouTube, podcast, blogs, landing pages, or freebies. If it has a link, we can send traffic to it. And this includes affiliate links, anything you want. And what we're going to do is we're going to head on to Pinterest, do some quick keyword research for your niche or industry. And we're just going to, you could copy them into notes, copy them into a Google Doc, or do it in real time. And we're going to make sure that what we're sharing to Pinterest makes it easy for our audience to find that thing. So you want to use those keywords that they're using to search to help them find it. And literally, all I say to people, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can be sloppy. Taking action is better. Well, because people often, I think,
right.
especially when you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, you think there's always a but. Well, I just need my website revamp to happen. I just need to rework my email funnel. Friend, no. Just because Pinterest is a long-term game. So what we find is it does take, minimum 3 to 6 months to start being able to see the return of your investment. And when I say investment, I don't necessarily mean spending money. I mean our time. Our time is so valuable.
Yes.
And actually,
Thank
I
you,
just want to
Megan.
say that you said that when we were talking before we hit record, that like, you don't necessarily create as much social media content because of time, because of also maybe the way that you've designed your life. So you are engaging in ways to market your business that help you grow, that will work for you when you're not working. And that is the magic unicorn that Pinterest and search-based marketing is for people like you and me. So I think that so many of us are sort of brainwashed or drinking the Kool-Aid that like, oh, Instagram, I have to be on Instagram. When we start using that language, I have to be on TikTok. I have to do this right away, that I'm like allergic to that. But also we have to find sustainability in our marketing. How can we work on serving our communities? How can we work on nurturing relationships, or even doing other, like staying in our zone of genius, if we're spending 4 or 5 hours creating something that only lasts 1 or 2 days on social media,
Right,
right?
right. I know. So that's my biggest pet peeve with Instagram in particular is like,
Mm.
so I spend all this time coming up with what I find to be witty.
Not
I'm
just
not
you.
I'm not sure if anybody else
Yeah.
does, but
Everybody,
like
everybody.
these witty and genius posts, like these beautiful carousels,
Mm.
and then like 8 people like them.
Oh,
And I'm
yeah.
like, oh man, but that's so good. It's so funny and
You
it's
know
so
what? It's a different
me.
game. Things have evolved so much. And I know, like, no hate to Instagram. I have friends who are still killing it at the Instagram game. And that's why
Yeah.
actually I've really come to terms, like, you have to pick what's easy for you. So actually, I got asked this great question a week ago by another entrepreneur. And they asked me, why do you create short form video content on TikTok versus creating it on Instagram? And I was like, oh, this is funny. It's just because TikTok is easy for me. So I find I don't find the content creation process for video in Instagram very intuitive. I also
Mhm.
find that like, I don't know, I just get things don't happen quickly there for me. So what I do is that I use TikTok because it removes that friction, and it allows me to create short form content really quickly, and then it goes on Pinterest, it's going on
Right.
YouTube if it makes sense for YouTube. I really want to underscore, it's important that we're not just repurposing and slapping everything up everywhere, that we're really repurposing with the idea of like, does this make sense for Pinterest? How do we need
Right.
to adjust or optimize? So I actually heard this amazing interview with someone who's highly successful with YouTube Shorts. And they tried to take their YouTube Shorts to TikTok and Instagram. And it just didn't, like, what do kids say? Like, it didn't slap. Like, it just didn't
Yes.
work.
Yes.
And we do find that, like, just to share this so people aren't surprised, some content that you might create for TikTok or Reels isn't going to necessarily resonate with your audience on Pinterest. And that's because the user intent is more, they're, yeah, sure, they might want to see a cute video, but they want to take value from your video. They want to
Yeah.
learn something. And I can say that Pinterest, the metric we should all be looking at is saves or repins. And that's because that is the metric that somebody, your next customer, your next email subscriber, saw something you created and thought, oh my gosh, this is so valuable. I want to listen later. I want to
Mhm.
read later. Like, think about when you save something on Pinterest, it's because you want to come back to it. And so that's a
Absolutely.
real mindset shift, as business owners that are creating content, that we might, you might create a piece of content for Reels that's all about like getting people to leave comments or to follow you. And
Mhm.
sure, that type of content can do well on Pinterest, but I promise you, if you focus on providing value, educating, that content, it's very, very needed, and your competitor isn't using the platform.
I agree with you like a million percent. I think why I've been successful is I've been able
Mm,
to repurpose podcast episodes by taking clips out of them
love
that,
it.
are just valuable nuggets. And then
Yeah.
that's enough of a hook to then have someone go, "Oh," and then go listen, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've been really successful. I don't have the same success when we were kind of trying to do that with Instagram as well.
Mm.
I think from a consumer standpoint, I struggle with Instagram because, okay, so when I'm in Pinterest, exactly what you said. I love saving things so I can go back and access it later
Mhm.
and review it
Mhm.
later. I love being able to just see my boards and see what I want for dinners for tonight,
Yeah,
or
sure.
what I want to look at for new fonts for some project I have coming up, right?
Of
Like I like
course.
that I can
Yeah.
segment them because I'm very
Yes.
organized. And on Instagram, I'm always trying to save things so I can go review it later.
Okay,
And
who
I'm like,
goes into their saved folder on Instagram? I don't even
I
know where
can't
to
even
find
find
it.
the stupid thing. Oh, it drives me bonkers.
Well, but the thing is like, that's just it. That Instagram, and this is what I will say. If you're an Instagram lover or you're still like, that is something you still want to do. And I myself, right? Like, I'm always open. I would say that my superpower is I'm open to experimentation. I know that like social media has changed. Instagram is the place where you create those like more you're having conversations. You're, like, what does people say? Like, you're in the DMs and you're not on on Pinterest. Pardon me. Like, Pinterest is top of funnel. And I think that a lot of people come to Pinterest with the experience or mindset that, or expectation is probably a better word, that it's going to be like Instagram, and it's not. Like, Instagram is about building those relationships, nurturing those relationships, getting to know people. Whereas Pinterest is focused on that discovery aspect. So like you said, you share a really nice nugget and people on Pinterest are expecting, oh my goodness, this is a really great nugget. I've never heard of Rachel before, but it's enough that they're saying to themselves, I'm going to save this and then I want to go consume their long format content. And remember, in this day and age, there are so many fakes. There are so many people who are selling snake oil. That long format content, whether it be audio, so podcast episodes, videos on YouTube, or something like a blog if you're a natural writer, or your email marketing, is that content is reinforcing that you are an expert, that how you can help them. And I think that our economy in the online space has really changed a lot because people have been burned. Like you and I were like we were talking before we hit record again, we talked about so many things, but like even I've been hoodwinked. I've been burned. We've all been there. And so when I think about being in the shoes of people who are in my community, they will say that like, well, it's getting harder and harder to decipher like who's just really good at marketing and who has a depth of knowledge. And this goes for any industry, any niche. And I think that Pinterest really lends to, again, if you are someone who loves audio, podcast, right? You are going to be sharing that podcast. If you're somebody who creates long format video on YouTube and you've built a beautiful, community on YouTube, great, bring them to YouTube. If you're a blogger and you love blogging and you're into SEO, then great, we're going to bring them there. But and Pinterest has always said that every piece of content can have a link associated with it. You are allowed to bring people off the platform.
Yeah. That's been, I think for my, I'm 46. So I've seen all of it come onto the market at this point, right? And so it's interesting. I always kind of lean towards Pinterest in the jump anyways, because I'm a very visual person. I love visuals. They're important to me. I think it's just like an additional component to like my own community is the look of my community. And that aesthetic. And so that's 100% why I lean more towards Pinterest. But okay, let's talk a little bit about folks who, let's say that you've got somebody and they're killing it, right? It's happening. It's finally, the snowball is happening. It's coming down. It's going great. All those things are happening. What do you do to keep that momentum going? Is it add more content? Do you, that's
great question.
Yeah,
I've never been asked that before, and I love that because really, like, it's funny. I get a lot of beginners. I love the beginner questions. Like jokingly, a client once said to me in a meeting, Pinterest is like black arts or like magic to us. Like we do not, it's like we do not know. It is completely foreign to us. And I get that. But I love the more like advanced intermediate, like, okay, let's scale this. Like now we have seen that Pinterest is really valuable. It's driving website traffic. It's bringing people into my world. People are subscribing to my podcast and downloading or subscribing to my email list. So now what do we do? So what I find is once people have something to really sink their teeth in, that's exactly the question. So what I would say is you start to get strategic. I want people to analyze what has worked for you and your unique account. So I always like to do let's look at what content is resonating. And how can we double down on that content? I am not somebody who's going to be like, one piece of content is just meant for one purpose. I'm always thinking like, okay, this topic did really well. Could we create more content on that topic? Or could we see it from another perspective? Could we create more videos about this? How can we sort of like feed the machine?
Mhm.
So I always do that content audit. Next, you mentioned more content. And of course, I think a question I get a lot is like, well, how many pins do I need for growth?
Yeah.
And that is like, there's no perfect number. What I will say is that Pinterest wants new content. It thrives when you are at least adding some type of new content. And it's funny, this just recently came out in their best practices once a week. So
Okay.
nowhere they have not previously wanted to commit to like, what do you need? But they
Mhm.
have, I found this little gold nugget deep, buried deep. It was like deep
Love
in
it.
there. So in their documentation for best practices. So what we want to do is we really want to think about how we can increase what we are doing. And I think I had a girlfriend once say it's like feeding the machine, right? So once you realize, okay, people want my content, it's resonating, it's growing an audience for me. I would also look at so not just the number of content or what we're sharing to Pinterest. I already mentioned like sharing more of what they like. I also think that we can look at trends. So Pinterest has a free tool that will let you look at trends in your niche or industry. It's always a good idea because literally they're hand delivering up to you like, hey, there's search volume popping off for starting a podcast, for,
Yeah.
getting a puppy, or even like, I think it's easy to think about like nail trends or things in fashion or
Right.
beauty, but we just know there are seasonal ebbs and flows. If you can use those seasonal ebbs and flows to your advantage, go for it. Next, I would really look at optimizing the funnel. So once you start to see some value of those people who are coming from Pinterest and you start to be like, whoa, things I created last year are driving growth for me today. What the next thing often I hear as somebody who's like deep in this world is like, people are coming to my website, people are finding me, but I'm not converting my audience. So then we have to look at your funnel. Does it make sense for your Pinterest audience? So what I find is people forget that if someone is discovering your pin, they don't know who you are. They don't know that
Yeah.
you're amazing. They don't necessarily have that pre-existing relationship with you and your products. And so what we have to think about is when we bring them into our world, how are we going to nurture them? How are we going to sort of rise to the occasion? And I think we can do that through our email marketing. Your strategy using a podcast where somebody gets a gold nugget and comes and learns about what makes you so special, what your deep level of expertise is you know, a free or easy, low barrier to entry to find out why you're so special. And I
Yeah.
think that, again, like it looping back on what I said before, is there's a lot of people who are complete scam artists. So we have to
Yeah.
remember that, right? So don't expect using that short, sweet opt-in on your website that worked for your meta ads, that same opt-in is going to work for Pinterest. They've never heard of you before. So give them a little bit more information. Who are you? What can they expect? What is your cadence of sharing new podcast episodes or emails so that they really know that this is who it's for, how it's going to help them. We're using that conversion oriented language, right?
Yeah.
We're anticipating their needs. And that's what I would really say to anyone who's looking at scaling their efforts on Pinterest.
That is some very interesting information that it had never even crossed my mind, Megan. The idea that they don't know who you are yet when they come
Mhm.
across your pin, that you haven't already shown them your value or, um, there's not even that like little instance to have, like I do these things.
Yeah.
For me, I'm a community strategist. So then that might resonate with someone. So that's a really interesting thought process that makes me want to reevaluate where I have some of my traffic
Mm.
going to. Is that
Sure.
possibly I need to look at, because I have some things that go to opt in pages and a couple of them perform really well.
Mm.
Honestly, the Notion templates. But some other
Yeah.
things don't perform as well, though they do get traffic to them. Pretty high
Interesting.
level, one of them
Yeah.
does in particular, that I'm always sort of surprised that that one doesn't convert. Like, we've rechanged the cover. We've done a lot of things to try to convert
Yeah.
this with this one freebie I have in particular.
Right.
And it doesn't click with Pinterest. Works just fine other
So
ways. So
that's
that's
I hear that you're
interesting.
not the only person that would be like, well, this did really well. And that's why actually like even hearing your thought process right now is like being open to that experimentation. Like often it's just about refining the messaging. It's about also like, well, what's on that landing page? I always say like we really need to aim for like medium to long. This is a great example. So I know someone who's like a sales coach, like clearly
Mhm.
wonderful messaging, has many coaching clients, has sells courses, and they were taking what they had created for Instagram and sharing it to Pinterest. And they said, "Do you mind just taking a quick peek?" And of course, like if I know you, I'll definitely do that for people. And
Right.
I said, like, you're sharing testimonials, but like I don't know what this has to do with. So like it's like
Yeah.
saying like Rachel is so wonderful and she really supported me and I felt supported in my journey. If I had never heard of you before, I wouldn't know who you supported. I didn't know what you were talking about. And so people will just scroll past where they might click over, but then they're like confused. So we need to really think about how also, like in our marketing plan, like what are our levers for discoverability and for visibility? What are our
Yeah.
levers for nurturing? And like it's funny because maybe it was a little bit accidental and it was just you were as a person drawn to Pinterest, but clearly like your podcast allows people to know what you're like, that your ethics, your values, which is, so important, and the way that you
Mm.
work with people and what you like talking about. And I think that we forget that like, well, what if I just like found your pin today? What could is
Yeah.
it save worthy? Am I going to want to refer back to it? Like if I was looking at building out a community or doubling down on my community, so I would be actively searching for community-based resources on Pinterest. My first thought is when we begin something new, what do? We look at all the options, we gather a bunch, and then we want to come back to it and review. And that's what so many people fumble is that they fumble. Are you giving people a reason to leave the platform? And you unknowingly have done it because you give people a really valuable gold nugget. And they
Right.
are like, wow, I want to know what else Rachel is teaching about this topic on her podcast, right? And that's
Yeah.
beautiful. But so many business owners, I don't know, for different reasons, like maybe social media isn't intuitive or Pinterest just feels so different, and different can feel hard. Not that
Yes.
it's not going to work, it just feels hard at first because you really do have to have that mindset shift that it's about your audience, that you have to be patient. I always say, it's like so many analogies that we could use. But I think one of the first ones I ever used in talking about Pinterest is it's like a garden. And if anyone's new to gardening, I live in North America. I'm in Toronto. We still, it's getting beautiful outside. The spring bulbs are coming up, but guess what? I didn't do any gardening because it snowed yesterday.
Right.
But we
Exactly.
plant, we get our gardens ready. We are planting things, but we don't get to enjoy the height of my garden is like August, September.
Yeah.
But I'm investing in my garden in May and June. And so there is that like, ooh, what's going to work out? How is, what are the flowers going to be like this year? Are my new things I bought, are they going to do well? There's always this like, recipe, and we try our very best to optimize, but you have to be open to really thinking about how the efforts that you're putting into Pinterest today you will benefit from them in 6 months, 12 months. And that's why it's like the evergreen push for you. And that's what I really try
Yeah.
to share with people. And it doesn't work alone. So it's very complementary to a podcast, to being a YouTuber, to people who love email marketing, or even TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm, I'm totally going to revamp now all of my freebie landing pages. So
Love it.
my podcast, when I send someone there, there's actually a bio and like there's information on me on the side of every page,
Love it.
right?
Yeah.
So that makes total sense, which there isn't any of that on any of my landing pages because in my brain, you
Oh,
landed there because you came to my website. You already I'm
yeah.
everywhere there, right? But you're like, you saying that comes total light bulb moment for me. Oh, gosh, I can't thank you enough. Because
Yeah,
it
you're
is,
so welcome.
it's literally a blurb about this thing and a sign up form. It doesn't say anything really about who I am or what I
Yeah.
do or any of those items. And it's behooved me just fine. But because in my brain, everyone got there because I sent them there and they
Of
already knew
course. Or
me.
they like we always I think too, like we think about it. Like, oh, they've been watching my Instagram stories or they already
Right.
follow me on TikTok or I'm active on Threads and so they've already have an idea of who I am whereas the Pinterest in most cases it's their first time ever hearing of you. They don't
Right.
know that you're the very best in the industry. And so we kind of have to be like we have to set the stage for them. We have to make no
Yeah.
assumptions and then actually what I really think, Rachel, is that when people kind of begin to refine and optimize and scale Pinterest, it just makes us better at marketing our business because you have to understand the needs of your audience of people when they first find you. And that just helps you create better content and refocus your energy on, I said it earlier, solve what they search. You're already talking
Yeah.
about it, but how do we adjust it for people? And I think that really focusing on like not making any assumptions and providing context, it's just like, yeah, you're going to see a major transformation.
Yeah, you're so brilliant, Megan. I just honestly, I can't thank you enough for that. I mean, it seems so small, but it actually makes a lot of sense because the freebies that convert are Notion templates and people
Mhm.
know Notion, right?
They do.
And so most times people will go, oh, okay. Oh, her thing looks pretty. I'll download that. Right?
Yeah,
Because I know
yeah,
like little screen shares and all of that stuff, but it makes sense of the one I'm always like, why is no one converting on this one?
yeah,
They don't know who I am. They don't
yeah,
know that the information in
yeah,
this workbook is valuable.
yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
remember, like giving up your name and sharing your email, like that's a big thing. That's a very, and so
Yeah.
it's sort of like it's not if you know, like they already know you. They're like, oh, everything Rachel creates is amazing, or I've been following
Right.
that person for a while. But in this particular case, yeah, they don't know that yet. And so they're like, ooh, should I give my email? Is this worth it? That's what I say. Is this save worthy? Is it worth it? Am I going to want to come back to it? Is this going to help me? And if the answer is yes, then you are in good hands on Pinterest.
I love it. I love it. Megan, thank you so much. I mean, obviously, I truly had a light bulb moment all myself today. You are fantastic.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
just love your energy as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank
For
you.
those of you who are listening and not watching, Megan, I want you to tell everyone where they can find you,
Yeah,
how they
sure.
can work with you, because I think I'm going to be ringing that bell myself soon.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. So
Okay.
please,
So
please
the
do.
best place to have a direct line to me is via my email list. So if you just go to meganwilliamson.com, we have our email list, sign up there. And really that is where you like all roads lead to my email list. That's where I give away the best goodies as well as all the things that are happening in my world. I'm active across social because I'm a big omnipresence girl. That said, you will see that I invest the bulk of my time into search focused marketing. But I'm Megan Williamson across social media. Megan A. Williamson. Maybe I had to include my middle initial on Instagram. And yeah, so I really support people through. I have a amazingly detailed, awesome program on Pinterest marketing that is actually very good for all levels. We do ask that beginners have some tech skills, more just to get like set up, claim your
Yeah.
website, that type of thing. And then I do offer a small amount of one-to-one consulting each month for established entrepreneurs. And I love teaching. I give away a ton for free on my socials and on email. So if people are just wanting to get like a sense of, is this good for me? I'm always a big advocate of like, come into my world. I'll teach you all the things. And then when you're ready to hit go, then Pin Potential, my course, is the place. But I have lots of sort of evergreen offers as well that people can access that will help them with specific things on Pinterest.
Awesome. I'm exactly the same in the give
I love it.
world.
I'm not surprised at all.
I will link all of this up in the show notes so everyone can find you, find your course, all of those
Thank
things.
you.
And thank you again so much for your time today. It's been a really great pleasure.
For me as well. Thank you for having me.